and welcome to Connected Conversations for Creatives, a place where creatives like you can learn, grow, and connect. I'm your host, Jennifer Carr. Have you ever found yourself standing on a stage, heart pounding, palms sweating, feeling like you're back in fourth grade, stumbling through a book report? Or perhaps it's a boardroom where your eyes of colleagues seem to bore into you, amplifying every little mistake. What if I told you that confidence and poise in these high pressure moments aren't just reserved for the naturally gifted speaker? It's a skill that can be learned, honed, and perfected. And today we're diving into the world of performance, and not just in the traditional sense of acting or voiceover work, but in every scenario where we are called to present ourselves, our ideas, and our stories. Whether you're delivering a speech, leading a meeting, or simply trying to connect more deeply with others, the essence of performance is about connection, empathy, and authenticity. It's about finding that sweet spot where your true self can shine through, engaging your audience, and leaving a lasting impression. So, how do we harness these skills? How do we transform nervous energy into compelling performances? What are the secrets behind those seamless presentations that we just admire so much? These are the questions we're going to explore today. Our guest today is someone who personifies the art of performance in every aspect of his life. With 30 years of acting experience across voiceover, film, television, commercials, and stage, Brian Lafontaine is a masterful storyteller. You may recognize him from popular shows like Ozark, Stranger Things, and Homeland, or from his voice in countless commercials for brands like McDonald's and Ford. But beyond his impressive resume, Brian is a true professional who brings meticulous preparation, dependable consistency, and an innate ability to connect with his audience. His superpowers, connection, empathy, and meeting people where they are, extend beyond acting into coaching public speakers. And today I'm hoping he'll share his insights on boosting confidence on stage or in the boardroom, bringing humor into your presentations, and healing from those haunting memories of childhood book reports. So without further delay, I want to welcome Brian to the show. Brian, thank you so much for being here today.
That is the best intro ever. You did homework. You creeped on me. You spied on me. You went to my websites. You probably went through my social media stuff. That's
grandma. No.
Yeah, I think you might have. You might have. That was awesome.
Yes, never
Thanks.
underestimate a woman and the internet.
Man, oh man. It's a little scary to know that all that stuff is out there, even though I actually put it out there. It's like, oh wow, someone read it. Cool.
Anybody can read it. Just know.
Thanks so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
I'm really excited about this conversation. You have such a wealth of experience in such a world that I've never been a part of. Like, I love the idea of acting and voiceover work and stuff like that, but it's not for me. But I love that it exists because it adds so much to just art in general, especially the visual arts and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
and we'll start slow. Let's start
okay.
real small and easy, and not to bring about any kinds of flashbacks to like traumatic memories and being put on the spot, like in fourth grade. But tell us kind of about your journey into acting and voiceover work.
Well, first of all, let me start by saying in one of your first emails to me when we first started this connection with each other, you said, I try to ask people to not curse during the interviews. So I'm just going to tell you, you've cut me down to about 7 minutes. So this might be the shortest interview that you've had.
That's what the edit button is for. So you're not going to offend me. It's fine.
No, kidding. My journey into acting it's a cliche to say it's not typical. I didn't go to school to be an actor. I didn't study it in college. I don't have a theater degree. I didn't go to NYU or any of the conservatory programs or anything like that. I always wanted to be an actor. I can say that completely honestly. I always wanted to be an actor. I knew that when I was a kid, just watching TV or watching movies. I thought, oh, that is so cool. How that would be awesome to do that. But I come from the state of Rhode Island. I come from the smallest state in the country, very lower middle class, working class family. And it's not like my folks had any idea how they could encourage or support me. And it's not like I even voiced that I was interested in doing it because it seemed so far away. It was a notion or an idea or a fantasy that was meant for other people. That happens to other people who live in New York or in Hollywood, not to people from Riverside, Rhode Island, where there's a population of 11,000 people. No. So it was never a reality. It was always just a dream. On some level. And so I went from Rhode Island to North Carolina, which is where I am now. I came down here for college 100 years ago. I went to a small liberal arts school called Catawba College in Salisbury, North Carolina. And I went to college on a golf scholarship. Yeah, stay with me. Stay with me. It all makes sense. A very small golf scholarship. And it didn't take long for them to find out that I really stink at golf. I'm not that good. And my sophomore year, they cut me from the team and they took my scholarship back. I remember the phone call. They said, "We don't know where you fit into the program anymore." Oh, yeah. So my years of being a student athlete were over, and I played in high school and state championship tournaments and things like that, but I was not North Carolina good.
Oh.
Here, yeah, no, if you play golf in North Carolina, like, the garbage men are like close to being professionals. They're that good. Like guys who, have no time to play golf are still ridiculously good at the game. I came from a place where you could play like 4 months out of the year because there was too much cold and snow. And I don't know how I talked these people into letting me play golf for them in the first place. But yeah, so that didn't work out. So I did what any former has-been student athlete would do in that situation, and I went into stand-up comedy. Of course I did. Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you?
That's what everybody does. That's a natural transition. So yeah, I did stand-up for a few years, and then when I graduated from school, I had some folks who said, "Hey, we can help get you into the stand-up scene on college campuses." And that didn't really pan out because they didn't really know what they were doing. And it turned out that there was an acting market here in the Southeast and in the Carolinas specifically. And I had no idea. And my roommate was a theater major, and he had just finished doing a production of West Side Story at a theater here in town. And he said, "You should go and audition for the next shows that they're doing. You'd be great for it." And they were doing the first and third part of a Neil Simon trilogy called Brighton Beach Memoirs and Broadway Bound. And Biloxi Blues, which is another famous title, is the second part. But the first and third parts take place basically in the same set with the same cast, just like 10 years apart. So I went and auditioned for these plays, and I got the lead in both shows at the same time. Yeah. So I was learning 2 full-length plays as the lead character. We were doing at the same time in what they call rolling rep, which means one night we did one show, the next night we did the next show, and on the weekends we would do both shows in the same day. So it was truly baptism by fire. Sorry, catching my breath here for a second after that. And there was a woman in the cast who was a local talent agent. She worked with an agency, and after working with her for several months on the shows, and the run was extremely successful, she said, "You're coming with me." So all of a sudden I had an agent who was submitting me for movies and TV shows and commercials, and they're still my agent to this day. And that's how that happened. So once I got in it and realized, oh, there's an opportunity to actually make a living doing this, that there is a professional avenue without having to move to LA or to move to New York City and focus on being a famous celebrity. You don't think about it. You don't think about all the other people that fill out the rest of a show. You don't tune. You're sitting here right now. You don't know who I am, Jennifer. You don't recognize my face. And it makes, to think about it on paper, it doesn't make any sense. It's how has this guy had a 30-year career in this business? Because you need to be the doctor, the lawyer, the next door neighbor, the best friend, the jealous husband, the jerky coworker, the drug dealer, the bartender. We're the ones that fill out the rest of the cast. We're not the ones that you tune in to watch, but we help move the story along and end up playing a part in much bigger things than a lot of people are aware of. But you have to bring it to their attention. When, someone says, "Oh, you were on Ozark?" And I say, "Yeah." And I tell them what I did, and they go, "Oh my God, now I know who you are." Yeah, it's stuff like that.
And you know what? Those background characters, I agree. Like in my books, I have secondary characters that you don't think they play a major role until all of a sudden you're like, well, what happened to them? And so you have to keep them in the story because they are relevant. They do help move the plot along. So
Yes.
yeah, no, that's fantastic. Okay, so stage or screen, which one do you prefer?
I have to be honest, stage. Live theater is phenomenal. There's nothing like it. The unfortunate part is that it's very, very difficult to not even make a living, but just earn money. Most theater, it hardly pays anything unless you are in New York and you're working off Broadway or on Broadway. And even then, unless you are one of the stars of the show, you're not getting rich. You're not getting rich. You're paying your bills, and that's the extent of it. And most other cities around the country, you're not making a living doing theater. It's really, really difficult to be a professional regional theater actor and, have a sustainable lifestyle. So I was fortunate enough at that time that I fit into a bunch of different categories, and I could do theater and I could do commercials, and I had a very professional corporate look. So you could put me in a bunch of different types that I fit into. I did have a voice that worked for voiceover work and even corporate training videos, which it isn't sexy, but it's work, and it's what we do. So I realized that if I can piece enough of this stuff together, I can actually have an actual career. So I had to become as good as I could be at all different aspects of the medium in order to do that. So that became the goal.
I think that's really great advice too, and that's true for a lot of artists. I think that so often we get so pigeonholed, and we think this is where I have to be. This is what I'm good at. This is all I can do. For the longest time, because I like words, and when I write books, they are over 100,000 words, and like my last one is 123,000 words because I love words, and I think I require all of the words to tell a story. Like the editor hates it, and so it is what it is. I'm like, no, look at the canvas I gave you to edit. You have so much to work with. And she's like, Jennifer, delete words. And I'm like, anyway. But I think
My gift to you is all these words.
like
I love
the
that.
story is not complete until I tell you every detail. But at the same time, so I learned that just recently
Hmm.
that writing short stories is also an art form. And I
Hmm.
think that when you can master multiple variations of your art, you definitely have more doors open because there are still contests for short stories. There are still, awards to be won for writing less words.
Right.
So, if you
Right.
can diversify just like a portfolio of any kind.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, not that you're ready to shift into that, but that's where the public speaking coaching came in. It's another diversification. It hasn't been an actual professional shift. I'm still a
Mhm.
full-time professional actor. As a matter of fact, well, by the time this comes out, it's going to be old news, but I just did an episode of Outer Banks for Netflix just last week. So I'm still working in the business, but the public speaking coaching was just a new offering of like, what else can I do with this skill set that I've acquired over the last 30 years?
Yes, and I think a lot of times with as creatives, I don't know about you, but like my brain gets bored easily if I
Hmm.
stay in one lane for too long. And so to find other ways to express my creativity, I find myself the creativity flows a little faster sometimes.
Absolutely. I started playing the piano when I was in my early 40s because it was something that I always wanted to do. And I started to take lessons here and there because being an actor, I had a lot of free time on my hands, a lot of flexibility in the schedule. And I got to a point where I went like, okay, now what do I do with this? And so I'm sure you're familiar with the School of Rock,
Hmm.
at least the movie.
Hmm.
Did you know that they turned it into a real thing?
Like a play, like the
No,
show.
an actual like
Oh,
music school.
no.
Yes. The School of Rock, somebody franchised it, based off of the movie idea. It is primarily geared towards children,
Hmm.
but when I was looking for uh, piano teachers at one point, an ad popped up through Google, and it was like School of Rock, Charlotte. And I'm going, is this a real thing? And so there was a phone number, and I thought, all right, I'll give it a call. And the woman answered, and I said, I'm going to ask you what might be a really stupid question. I said, but is this program just for kids? And she said, no. She said, we work with adults. We even have an adult band that you could be a part of. And it all culminates into a one night dive bar performance with the adult rock band. So I was the keyboard player in the adult band at this local dive bar here in Charlotte. We did a 13-song set of
Wow.
what the theme of the music was millennial rock, so it was anything from 2000 till now. And it was unbelievable. So there I was at, 47 years old, being the keyboard player in a band, in a rock band for the first time ever in my life. So
It's like every teenage kid's dream come true, like
it was unbelievable. The only downside to it is that it was one performance and one performance only. And as you can imagine, if you've never done that before, your first time in front of a live audience, you're going, okay, I need to be able to work out the kinks. It's so different having people in the room now as opposed to us just rehearsing with each other. So it would have been nice to have another couple swings at it, but
I mean,
so it
but you
goes.
can add it to your resume. I mean, you have
Totally.
another skill that,
Totally.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
It's great.
Oh my gosh. Was there a pivotal moment or piece of advice that just kind of shaped your career that like somebody said this and this is what happened aside from the agent that said, "Hey, you're coming with me."
Well, yeah, it was even before that, just before that, in the earlier part of the rehearsal process. The guy who cast me in those shows, who was the director, a guy named Lon Baumgartner, who is one of my oldest and closest friends. He became my mentor for all intents and purposes. And he was the guy that cast me, and he was the real deal. This guy's amazing, 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 amazing. If you were to ask around here in the Southeast, as far as acting coaches go and directors go, his name would come up a lot. And he's truly phenomenal, one of a kind type of guy. And we all went out after rehearsal one night, and it went and had a drink, and everybody had left, and it was just me and him sitting there at the bar. And he said, "I'm going to tell you something that I've only said to two other actors before in my life." And he said, "You're going to be the third." And he said, "You should be doing this for a living." And it was, I never expected to hear it. It's certainly what I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
to have someone confirm that, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be, was amazing. But it still went back to, now what do I do? Oh my gosh, now what do I do? How do I become a professional actor? I'm living in North Carolina. What do I do? How do I have to move to LA? Do I have to move to New York? Do I have to go back to school? What do I do now? And I went to work the next day, and I went into the men's room and I threw up.
Fabulous.
Like the
Logical.
the even my body was going, you can't keep this down here anymore. It has to come out. You have to be willing to let it out and let it go and pursue it, go after it, and just see what happens. Um, yeah, that was the turning point when this guy said, "You should be doing this for a living." I don't know, for whatever reason, I listened and I took it all, as gospel truth, basically, and thought, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because just as well as I do, when you find that passion, it's in your body, it's under your skin, and you can't deny it. Otherwise, you're really going to do some damage to yourself if you're living that lie. A lot of people, you can ask them, what is it that you're really passionate about? If you could do anything, what would it be? And so many people will go, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't believe you.
Do. Yeah.
You just, it's hard to say it out loud, especially when it's not a reality. It's hard to say it out loud. It's very vulnerable. I get that.
It is. And you said something earlier in the conversation where, you see all these other people, they're just doing it. They're just all of a sudden they're in these places. And you think, I want to do that. And so, I made the comment that being an actor was never for me, but it was funny because every time I took a career assessment test where it was like, what should you do with your life? I went to the career center, like the state career center. It was like, what should you do? And it was like, you should either be an actor, a writer, or a teacher. Those were the top three every time. And I was like, the first time I took it, I was 17. And I was like,
Wow.
I can't be an actor or a writer because only really certain people get to do that's a one in a million job. Like, how would
Hmm.
I ever? That's not a thing. And so,
Exactly.
like in college, I did improv and I did theater and stuff like that, but I never took it beyond that because I was not that person.
Hmm.
That's so vain to want to be on stage all the time. And anyway, so yeah,
I mean, I've never seen it as a vain thing. To me,
I don't
it's
now. No.
yeah. if- Of course, of course. I mean, to me, it's no different than you being an author. You've got this passion for telling stories, and for sharing that form of expression with an audience of some sort, whether it's a live audience or an audience of readers. To me, it's potato tomato sort of thing.
Exactly. And I think that once you realize that you have a voice and you have a story and you have
Hmm.
a purpose, like to not use it is selfish. And so it goes from vanity to selfishness. And I was like,
Certainly,
oh,
you are denying the world of your gifts
yes,
for sure.
yes, you have them for a reason. Okay, so one of your superpowers is your ability to connect with your audience. And
Hmm.
that is one thing that I think even as an author, when I'm trying to market my stuff or, sell a book, that's really hard. And for a lot of creatives, talking about their work is very sacred almost,
Hmm.
but you have to connect with an audience. So how
Hmm.
do you shift into a mindset to connect with an audience, whether it's, whatever type
Well,
of medium?
I think it's much more challenging for you than it is for me because you're trying to create something out of nothing and having no idea who's going to. Yeah, I mean, but when I say create something out of nothing,
No,
it's
you're right.
truly, yeah, it's coming out of your imagination, out of your thoughts, out of
Hmm.
your creativity. And you have no idea who's going to pick it up, who's going to attempt to read it, and who's going to be interested in reading it or even finish the story. Mine is different because the people actually come into the room. They actually do show up. So they're right there in front of me. I have a much more immediate ability to be able to connect with them and engage with them. Yours is almost more relatable to me auditioning. When I put an audition on tape and I submit it into the electronic world, I have no idea who's watching it. I have no idea who the other 999, and I'm not exaggerating, actors are who are also up for the same role. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know good, bad, what choices. Am I off the mark? Am I hitting it right? No idea. So it's just, throwing it out there. But with a live audience, and I don't know if you ever done readings of your book in front of a group or an audience or
I
in a
have, and
bookstore?
I hate it. I hate it
Really?
because I hate being there when somebody's listening to or reading my work. I hate it. Isn't that crazy? I know. I know.
Maybe again, I think you're under a lot more scrutiny than I am. I think you're under a lot more scrutiny than I am. When people show up for live theater or live performance or even to hear a live talk, they are looking
Right.
for that engagement, that connection. They already go there expecting to have a good time. Uh, I think there's more people than not who are showing up with a very open mind and just they want to escape. They want to have fun. They want to be entertained to some degree. So audience engagement for me that's the ball game. That's my greatest responsibility, is to keep your attention. If I can't do that, then I'm not doing my job. And if I could be given the greatest performance of Hamlet in the world, but if nobody's paying attention, it doesn't make any difference. So it's all about preparation for the most part. When you're talking from a theater standpoint or even a stand-up comedy standpoint, your preparation and all your homework ahead of time is what's going to help you be successful in front of that audience. From a speaking standpoint, if you're giving a talk like a TED talk or a presentation, audience engagement is about making them a part of the conversation. It's not about me standing up there and going, everyone be quiet. I'm going to impart my wisdom and knowledge on you right now and listen to how smart I am. I'm the smartest man in this room. I know more. No, it's about, I'm here for you. I'm not here for me. This isn't about me. I've already got the information. You're showing up because you need some of it. You need a different perspective on it. You need a different take on it. You need someone to, spin it around and have you look at it this way, or just share it with you. I'm here for you. It's my job to make it about you. Getting to know my audience and engaging with my audience. The only way that I can do that is by actually acknowledging you and talking with you. It's I don't know too many people who like to be spoken at,
Ooh, no.
you know? So getting to know your audience for me is truly about saying, "Hey, how are you? How can I help you?" To some extent, for all intents and purposes. It's bringing them into the conversation, turning your talk or your presentation, making it a conversation.
I think that is very valid. I think adding value to
Hmm.
somebody's, their world, whatever that may be. So, in the case of an author who has a book, connecting with them and saying, "Hey, I know you like books, and I have a great book that I think would just really add to your repertoire, and I'm going to add value to your bookshelf, whatever the case may be," and then
Right.
ask them for their feedback. That is a little bit different though, because we get feedback in a very different way.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes it's delayed. It's not as instant, as maybe being on a stage or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I do think that engaging your audience and knowing who you're talking to, and also maybe being your true self, and that kind of goes into your public speaking coaching and how you can present that way, because you are kind of an actor, but you also have to be yourself because people know when it's fake.
Well, there's a direct line, not even, an indirect line. There's a direct line, there's a direct connection between being a performer on stage and giving a speech, whether it be for a corporate presentation or motivational speech or whatever it may be. They're very similar. They're very much the same thing. And authenticity nowadays, especially, I think is more important now than at any other time, at least in my adult professional career. People want authentic. People want to engage and connect with people who are real. To me, perfect is boring. Nobody can identify with perfect. They want authenticity. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's flawed, and we want to feel that connective tissue, that thread between us. That's like, hey, I've been there. I understand where you are. I understand what you're working on. I understand what your struggles are because I've had my own. Not to say discounted yours are better or worse or greater than mine or whatever, but it's like, yeah, we're in this together, you and me. And it's not that far off from being an actor because you do have to be authentic. Most of the work that I do, I'm showing up just as me. A little, inside baseball sort of understanding of the business a little bit. When they're going through the whole casting process, you think about it. You're not looking for the best actor. You're looking for the best person who fits it seamlessly, that they can just plug in. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to work too hard to manipulate you and direct you. There's the misconception to some extent that, you're becoming another person and what you're really not. You're becoming that version of yourself that fits into that scenario, to that scene, that situation in the most believable and authentic way. So these things are much closer and much more connected than you might think at first glance.
That's very interesting, and you put words to it, and it makes perfect sense because yeah, absolutely. That's you can always tell when somebody doesn't quite fit the character. They don't fit the part because
Hmm.
there's a stiltedness to their presentation. Like they're like hesitant to even say it. Whereas if it comes naturally, there's a good chance you're in the
Hmm.
right role. So yeah, that is a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was kind of put to me this way. It's like when they're going through the casting process, when they cast the role, they usually don't say we got the actor. They say we got the guy or we got the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So you decided to kind of transfer your superpowers from acting to coaching public speakers, which, coaching people is hard.
Hmm.
Um, I was a counselor and I'm a certified life coach. And so working alongside people and trying to help them find themselves, that's hard. I know from experience, but what inspired you to take this path? Like,
Well, I mean, I've been doing acting coaching and auditioning coaching. I've also been a theater director. I still teach, studio classes for adult professional actors. I've been working hands on with actors for years for people who are wanting to improve their performance and get better at what they do. So that's not a new skill set for me. It's not this, uncharted territory. The part of it that's new is that I'm taking this, honestly, almost the exact same skill set and offering it to a completely different clientele, taking it out of the strictly just the entertainment world and offering it now to the corporate and professional world. So the challenge there is trying to communicate creatively to someone who really doesn't have a creative background per se. Everybody's creative in their own way, absolutely, but a lot of people it's untapped.
mhm,
They've never had to use it, they've never been encouraged to use it,
mhm.
and I approach it from that same perspective as a performer, as an entertainer, as an actor, which I guess you could say is what separates me from other people who are doing public speak public speaking coaching in many facets or under many companies. I come from a performance background. I'm not trying to fit you into some cookie cutter mold of, follow these 5 steps, the 5 P's of public speaking, and you'll be great. No, you're different than the next person and the next person and the next person. You may have more experience. You may have, your issues might fall in different areas. Not everybody has that same level of stage fright that everyone else has. Some people are like, I'm okay in front of it, but I can't, I say, I have all the other all the other pitfalls to public speaking. I own those. Being in front of an audience, not a problem. Everybody's different. So I am meeting you where you are. I explain it this way. When I'm directing a play, say I've got 6 actors in the cast. All 6 of those actors studied acting and learned how to do it from different schools of thought and under different teachers and instructors. I have to be able to communicate with each of them in a way so that when they get on stage, they're all telling the same story.
Yeah. Woo. So, what are some of the common pitfalls that you see beginner public speakers fall into then?
Well, the most common is the stage fright. The nerves and just the disconnectedness. For most people, when it comes to public speaking, they're just trying to survive it. They're just trying to get through it and remain upright. And that's usually the win. It's like, I didn't die, hooray. And that's why people will still applaud and go, you did it, yay. But then if you kind of stop and ask, well, what did they talk about? Then that's when you run into, well, because so many people are just trying to get through it, they're losing a lot of mileage and losing a lot of that connection by not having the message truly land. You're watching this person, you're spending more time either on your phone and going, cool, let me know when you're done, or you're watching them try not to fall apart. You're not really paying attention or focusing on what their message is. Even they're not necessarily sure what their message is. Their boss or their company or whoever it was, their organization said, we need you to go up there and speak. And they went, okay, here goes. So let me put up a bunch of slides and a bunch of visual aids because I don't know if I'm interesting enough to watch. That's the biggest thing, is people realizing, getting them to understand you're okay just by yourself. You're interesting enough just as you are. Yes, visual aids are great and they can be helpful and useful and blah. I'm not a huge fan because those are static things. This is active. This is what they're going to pay attention to, the person speaking. So it's getting someone to understand and truly feel confident in themselves that, what I'm saying, I have a purpose, I have an objective, I have passion behind it. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. Again, this is what I'm here to help you with. This is what I'm offering for you. This is my gift to you. I prepared this for you and I'm sharing it with you, as opposed to I'm trying to take something from you, or I'm just going to recite these words until I'm done, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to sit in the bathroom and I'm going to cry for a while. So I'm going to get this out as quickly as possible, and hopefully I'll still be able to breathe and not, pee myself. That's the thing, and it does take a great deal of confidence to go, you know what, I'm interesting enough to listen to. I'm dynamic enough to have someone pay attention to me. I'm magnetic or entertaining or energetic, whatever words you want to put to it. It does take a lot of self-confidence to go, I don't need anything but this. This is it. I'm good. Send me out there. I'll take care of it.
And yes, that is terrifying. For me, I think once I own the art, like if we're talking to creatives and they're having to talk about their art and they're trying to connect with their audience with their art, own your art and know your art. Nobody's going to know your work better than you anyway. And so, like, get to know it to the point where it is just part of you.
Yes.
And it becomes way more natural to present it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I am 2.5 years separated from writing my first book, and I know that book better now than I did when I wrote it, because
Of course.
you have to take time to like reinvest and just really bathe yourself in it if you're
Right.
just going to get down to it.
Right. And again, that's where preparation comes in. Most people don't realize what it takes, how much preparation you truly need to put in order to feel that you can just be free when you're talking or speaking or presenting. And I always do tell people this too. It's like they asked you to speak for a reason. You already have the information. You already know what to say. You know this stuff inside and out. In this room, nobody knows it better than you. You just have to figure out how you want to present it and be prepared enough that you can go here or there. And if you get off track or if something goes sideways, you can click right back in and pick back up where you were. It's not worrying so much about being perfect. It's about just being present and being real and being genuine. And again, the word authentic. That's going to get you way more mileage than being flawless. I think people respond much better with a lot more empathy when you stop and go, I'm sorry, I just lost my place. What was I saying again? Hold on. And it's another opportunity to just connect with the audience. And I'm sure someone's going to say, you were talking about this. Right. And here we go. Now we're back again. And not getting thrown or flustered by, mistakes are going to happen. We just had it happen here in this interview. The stupid lawn guy showed up a day early. How do you do that? Now we've got lawnmowers in the background that we're going to have to fix in post-production. It happens. You can't avoid it. You got to run towards it. Don't run away from it. Don't pretend that it didn't happen. Sure, nobody wants it to happen. You'll survive. You're going to be okay. These are things that come with practice and they come with time.
And if you try to control every aspect of a presentation, you will drive yourself batty because
Yes.
you cannot prepare. It does not matter what your expectation is. You just need to go in understanding that life happens. Like stuff hits the fan all the time. And you just roll with it. You have to. Is it easy? No, because it can be embarrassing. I get that. But at the same time, oh my goodness, once you're done, you can say, I did it.
But it can also be fun and entertaining. It could be magical moments that actually light a fire and create a spark that you didn't even expect or prepare to happen that could take your work into a whole nother stratosphere.
Yes. And, clearly you have friends. Like everybody has a friend. They're drawn to you for a reason. You connect for a reason. Use that. What do you connect with that person so well over? Be that person when you're trying to connect with your audience, because then you're going to continue to draw the same people that are meant to be in your audience. And not every person is meant to be in your audience. Like it just is what it is.
Right. And you're not going to please everyone. You're not going to hit a home run with every person there, and you have no control over that. So that's another thing that you can't worry about. Again, I'll relate it to myself as an actor. When I'm auditioning, the only thing that I can do is prepare my audition to the best of my ability and perform it to the best of my ability. And then basically say, look, if you want to cast me, here's what I'm going to bring to the set. If you want that, cool. If not, you want somebody else, and that's okay. There's nothing I can do about that. You're looking for what you're looking for. Here's what I have to offer. And hopefully that's enough. And a lot of people, it's common with many folks who think nobody wants to hear my story. Nobody wants to hear what I've been through. Nobody wants to hear my crap. Yeah, we do. Look at the stuff that we consume all the time. We love consuming stories. We love hearing stories. You're writing stories. You're creating them. You're contributing to this mess. It's wonderful. All the streaming services, all the different content that's out there, podcasts as well. We can't get enough of it. We love hearing stories about people who are as screwed up, if not more screwed up than we are. It lets us feel that we're not alone.
Yes, and I think that is something that we find ourselves behind our phone screens all the time, alone, and we forget there's a whole big world out there to connect with outside of that screen. So, I mean, do I like people most days? But but
Mondays and Thursdays, and that's it.
Lucky you.
You're right.
Okay, so Brian, what's next on your journey? What should we be watching for?
Well, as I said, I mean, I don't really have too much to promote, just other than life itself. But yes, at the moment, you never know. They could get into the editing room and be like, okay, we're getting rid of these scenes altogether. This guy was terrible. But I am expected to be in the upcoming season 4 of The Outer Banks on Netflix. So that's always a fun thing. But outside of that, it is just working. I do work mostly locally with people on public speaking, and I've been having so much fun and really, really enjoying working with folks one-on-one. I am open to working virtually. I haven't really pursued that very much yet. I think I need to. But I've been doing this for a long, long time. And I know what it's like to be in front of an audience and have that connection, have that feeling of landing that story and having it resonate with someone and having an impact, even just on that one person. Again, as cliche as that may sound, I've been fortunate enough to feel that and hear the applause and just know what that rush feels like. And for anyone else who's trying to get in front of an audience to share their story or share their message or to help impart wisdom or just be there to help somebody else, if I can help them achieve that, even just for a moment, then that's it. That's worth it. That's worth the price of admission. I'll do that all day long.
Yeah, I think the virtual public speaking coaching is probably exactly where it's at right now because of everybody is on Zoom. Everybody is doing podcasts. And I will tell you the number of guests that I'm like, oh, we should probably work on your presence online, like there's
right.
So there's need for coaching.
There's absolutely a need. Yes, everybody has a platform right now in some way, shape, or form. I did this quick presentation. I was holding a workshop back in February, and I went to this live event here, kind of a networking event, and they were letting me promote my workshop just for literally not even a minute. So I went up there and I did my pitch and stuff, and then I thought, okay, I'll hang out after the event is over and see if anybody comes up and asks me about it. And there were people who came up to me, but there were people who came up to me and said, that was really great. I know because I'm a speaker. And then another person came up and said, I'm a speaker too. I do some speaking. And that was really, really great. And there were about 3 or 4 of them that came up and was a speaker. And I thought, oh, wow, this is like me being an actor. When it comes out, I tell people that I'm a professional actor, and I'm sure it'll be no surprise how many people go, oh, I've done some acting. Oh, I act. I do. And I just want to go, do you? Not to be a jerk, but it's like there's a difference between doing it on the side or doing it part-time or doing it here or there, or someone who's made an actual career, a profession out of it and put in the 10,000 plus hours the way that I have, the way that you have. Anybody can self-publish and write a book, and therefore they're an author. You know, everybody's got a podcast. There's so many different platforms, and everybody is speaking, and everybody's got something to say, and everybody's got a story to share or a point to make. So what separates you from the masses? And that's what I try to do, is to help, if all these people are talking and you want to talk, so what's going to separate you from everybody else who's speaking? So let's raise it up.
Yes, I think that is very important. Okay, so we're to the part of the show where we're going to flip the script if you're still interested in getting to
Yay!
host the show.
Awesome. I can't
You're way
wait.
too excited about
I'm
this.
very excited. I am very, very excited.
The show is yours.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So Jennifer, what made you decide to start writing books and become an author? That's not something that just happens overnight.
Except it kind of did, literally. Um, I've always loved writing, right? Writing has always been a thing. I won countless contests growing up just in school and outside of school, writing and speech giving and that kind of thing. Not a
Mm-hmm.
problem, but it was never something, like I said earlier, that you can't make a career out of writing. That's not a thing. It's just not, apparently, unless you're J.K. Rowling, who
Right.
apparently,
She ruined everything.
she did. Golly. Um, but honestly, I literally woke up one morning and thought, that was a very interesting dream. How was that going to end? And so literally overnight, then like the next morning I started writing, and it would have been about 4 chapters worth of a book at that point. And I was like, I guess I'm going to write a book to find out how it ended. And so my husband was like, oh, how wonderful for you. And I was like, okay. Because I mean, what a random thing to say. I think I'm going to write a book. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And next thing you know, a year later, I had published a book and had sent a second one to an editor. And now my 4th book comes out in October. And it was just kind of it literally was an overnight thing, but only because I made it happen, right? Like I
Wow.
woke up and I said, I'm going to do this. And so I did it.
What did you go to school for? What were you originally setting out to do professionally?
I was a marriage and family counselor and I taught
Hmm.
AP high school psychology.
I can't imagine why you quit that job.
You. I agree. No, no, seriously. I saw my last counseling client like a year ago, and we did it virtually, and I was like, I'm good. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Children?
I have one. She is 14, and
Do you still like her?
you know what I do, because she is not like I was when I was 14.
Continue.
Like, so I was the child whose mother prayed that very religiously that I would have a child just like me, because I taught her so much about patience and endurance and not killing people. And when I had a daughter, I thought, crap, I am in for it. But I will tell you, like, she is just like her dad. And it's like every now and then she pulls out the sarcasm and the wit and the humor,
Mm-hmm.
which is all me. And I'm like, I have contributed to society the most positive way I know how. And everything else is just, it's beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And I need something wooden to knock on because
Oh my gosh. So is your daughter is she following in your footsteps in any way creatively? Have you gotten her into the writing bug and the storytelling
so
mode?
we are a very musical family, and so she has
Great.
taken to music, and she is an artist in that drawing. Like I don't know where it came from. I cannot. I draw stick figures that look dreadful, but she just one day sat down and just picked up a pen and started drawing, and I thought, wonder where that came from, but she is amazing. And I keep thinking, hey, I've asked her, can I hire you to do some of my graphic design? She's like, no, I'm not interested. I will pay you. I'm good.
You
She
know.
would rather get paid to unload the dishwasher than to do art, like get paid to do art. I'm thinking,
Wow.
like, you
I'm
are
not compromising my art because you're going to come back with notes and say, I want this. I'm like, I'm not commercial.
you are
I'm an artist.
probably not far off on
Oh
that
my
because
gosh.
she is one of those people that no, I like it like this, and you're going, if you say so.
Is your husband artistic in any way? I mean, did she get any of that from him?
He's an engineer, so like he can see something and he can translate it into a drawing, but it's
Hmm.
not artistic. It's very logistical when he
Right.
draws. She draws and it's just like, well, that's really pretty. How did that happen?
Fantastic.
I know. It's
Good for
natural
her.
talent. I know. It makes me jealous.
So is this her first year in high school or is she getting ready to start?
She just finished ninth grade. Like
She
I
just
know
finished
I'm
ninth
not
grade.
old enough to
Wow.
have a kid that old, but I am actually.
Time is a terrible, terrible, cruel thing. It really, really is.
But at the same time, I like her better now than I did 14 years ago. Not even gonna lie. I know, isn't that terrible? Most people are like,
Yeah.
oh, the baby years, enjoy it, love it, cherish it. And I'm like, I am so glad that's over.
Sure. I can totally understand that. I mean, we don't have kids, but our friends and other family members that do have kids that are around your daughter's age now, they're way more involved in their kids' life now than they ever were. And it's interesting because Colleen and I are, we're the ones with no kids. And we're
Mhm.
thinking, oh, well, once the kids get older, then we'll be able to hang out. No, we hang out less with our friends now than we did before because they're going to every event and they're like, look what our kid did and we're going here. We're like, shut up.
Yes.
You and
Well,
your
see,
awesome kids.
right? Well, and see,
Fine.
we have always homeschooled because one, she was reading at like 3, so she's brilliant.
Wow.
She's super smart, and so she would have been bored in public school like that. There's just no way. I was that kid. I was
Hmm.
bored in public school, and I know
Right.
what I got into, and so I was like, "There's no reason to put her through that." And so we've been together 24/7 pretty much her whole entire life.
Whoa.
Yeah. So yeah,
Good for you.
but
That's impressive.
we all do everything together, and
Hmm.
it's probably unhealthy, but we like it. So
So what's next for you? What do you have coming out soon?
okay, so I
Okay.
have I've been working on a new adult contemporary romance series. The first book came out in February. The second one comes out in October, and I've
Hmm.
got 2 more planned for after that. One and a half written, and so that's that's the series I'm in right now.
Do you ever get to shut your brain off? And I mean that half jokingly, and but seriously, like when do you get to turn it off and just? I mean, do you? Look, I'm gonna ask you a serious question.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard time? Do you ever struggle with just being present?
I really don't. I am
Okay.
pretty particular. Like Monday through Friday, I will work. Saturdays, if I don't have to, like if there's nothing pressing, I'm not going to do anything on Saturdays and Sundays. My weekends are
Okay.
pretty sacred. But I also have a lot of flexibility because I work from home. My
Sure.
kid is homeschooled, but she's independent study. So I have a lot of extra time during the day to focus
Hmm.
on work where
Okay.
other people probably wouldn't. So
But I mean, you don't have a hard time turning it off, in your brain? Does it constantly, is the story always evolving in your head?
even if it is,
Yeah.
I love it. Like I could get lost in my daydreams all the time,
Great.
and well, I'll just say stuff out loud, and they just kind of look at me like having a conversation with your friends again. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
like it just happens, and then I'll just make a note in my phone on Monday morning, pick this back up, and so I don't forget. But yeah, no, we're all pretty creative, so it's pretty
Hmm.
understandable around here.
That's great.
Yeah,
That is
it's
great.
pretty funny. Oh, well, I'm going to take the reins back, not because you're not
Do
a
it.
fantastic host, but because you are, but I want you to tell listeners how they can connect with you and find you.
You can find me through my website at brianlafontaine.com. You can also find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I don't spend a lot of time there, but those are the main three. brianlafontaine.com. Also, find me on Instagram, find me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect with you. Send me a message. Just say hi. Send me a Christmas card.
Oh, how lovely. That's a great idea. I should start sending my guests Christmas cards. And they'd be like, who is this person that just randomly sent me a
Why
Christmas
not?
card? Why not? That'd be awesome. And if you need his grandmother's phone number, I've got it
That's right.
because I'm kidding. I don't. I promise that was weird.
That's
Um,
okay.
All right, I have one last final question. It's a big question.
Okay.
It's going to this is going to make or break the show. Are you
Hmm.
ready?
Oh boy, make or break the show. Wow, no pressure. Go ahead, fire away.
Okay. What is one piece of advice or encouragement you want someone to walk away with if they hear nothing else?
You're gonna be okay.
Ooh.
You're gonna be okay. Trust me. There are down times, there are quiet times, there are crazy times. I don't care what field you're in, what industry you're in, what profession you're in, or just what however you want to apply this, is that nothing stays static. Doesn't it's impossible. Nature abhors a vacuum. So regardless of what you're struggling with and whatever you are trying to overcome or achieve, sometimes it feels like I'm never going to get there, and you can be planting seeds and trying to create ripples and not seeing anything from it. It's gonna create something. It will be productive in some way. It always happens. It may not come in the package or the form that you're expecting it to, but just stay open to seeing how it can all come back to you. Now, I'm saying this in a very generic and general sort of form because I think it applies to just about anybody. But to put it into what we're talking about, if you're a young artist and a performer and you want to get into showbiz and you live in the middle of nowhere America and you think I have no connection to this industry, none of us did. None of us did. Even the people that are born in New York City and Los Angeles, whose families aren't a part of the entertainment industry, still were able to find their way into it. Ask questions, be curious. I bet you know somebody who knows somebody who can help advise you and point you in a direction, some way, shape, or form. As a speaker, or as a presenter, or someone who wants to be more confident on stage or in front of an audience, leading a meeting, and you feel like I said, you cannot survive it, you'll survive it. You'll be okay. I did stand-up comedy. It is the hardest form of entertainment and speaking ever because it's only one objective, and that is to make people laugh. And there's nothing harder than that. Think about when you went armed into a cocktail party or a meeting or somebody at work and you're like, I've got this joke, I can't wait to tell it to them. And you tell them and they go, oh, yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes over like a fart in church most of the time. It's the hardest thing. You know, I've died a miserable death on stage in front of an audience trying to do stand up, and I'm still here, man. I am still here to tell the story. So there you
And
go.
aren't you better off for that experience too, though? Because when you face those hard things,
Hmm.
it makes you better at it next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's fantastic advice. And so, Brian, you are free to go because you answered the question correctly. Thank you so much for being here today and hanging out. This was fun.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I'm so grateful that we got connected and that you were willing to have me on. You rolled the dice, and you know, here you go. Have fun editing this.
Alzheimer's.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.